Fascinating old barn, which goes back quite a long way. It was moved here from another place. It wasn't built here. Maybe the 20s, maybe the 30s, something like that. Anyway, this is... it requires some tidying up. Things need to be moved around and sorted out. But this is where we're going to do our little conversation today. A well-known celebrity was asked some years ago what he thought about religion. And he said the problem with religion is it keeps on getting between me and my God. Now, if you consider religion as a structure, abstract, a structure, what he's saying is that the structure of religion gets between him and his goal. If you take that several steps further and apply that to society today, what more often than not we have is the structure getting in the way of the goal. Now let's think about this a bit. This is a very worthwhile thought, because we have so many structures in our world today which have mostly been pirated by the structure itself, by individuals, by other structures, so that we really cannot rely on any of them anymore. This is a very grand statement to make, but if you think about it, for instance, Norway, especially mid-Norway, the health authorities tried to institute a new system, a new digital system for records and information to be passed through the Norwegian Health Service. This sounded like a very good idea. Unfortunately, they chose an American system which had been tried in Sweden, in Denmark, in Finland, and it didn't work. But they have been so focused on high technology and all the rest of it that they thought they could make it work in Norway. Unfortunately, they can't. It has cost a colossal sum already, and indeed, maybe my information is not quite correct, but it's also possible that maybe they've had to cut major services around the country to pay for this non-functioning system, which is still not functioning very well and is costing an awful lot of money. This is the basics of the situation. There is much more detail which I don't know, and frankly I'm not really interested, because what interests me is the structure and the belief in the structure that we have, and indeed is reflected in our society. The structure must work because we know it works. Yeah? As an individual, I have seen serious failures in these structures. Those failures have cost me pretty nearly everything at times. I never believe that I am unique, and I hope that you don't either. It it is not our differences that set us apart. It's the ability to use what we have and to see what we have and to make it work. Further, it's the ability to take from our surroundings and our possibilities ideas and things which make our life work for us. Society will that we should earn as much money as possible to pay for everything and make our lives comfortable. Meanwhile, we have a system which seems intent on wrecking our future for short-term gain for those of us who have fought their way to the top of the pile. I've been in many strange places, circumstances, situations in my life. Thus, I have come across a large number of people. Some of them had been very, very successful in life in following the rules. One guy from a private school I went to, a very rich private school, told me that he had retired and that he had been very successful in business, as we had discussed at school several times, and he had retired with a very substantial payment for his company, which he sold. He told me how much. 4 billion, not million, not hundreds of thousands, billion, 4 billion pounds. He lives in, I believe, Monaco, and his main interest now is guiding people who want to be successful in business. Fair enough. But the theme of this talk was how structure obscures the ultimate goal. So let's take a look at tractors. John Deere tractors, they have a structure which has captured the functionality of the tractor so much that if you don't use that structure, you can no longer use the tractor. That's the idea. You are captured into paying large sums of money for their maintenance system, which is all computer based and it's private. You cannot access the computer and you cannot do anything to your tractors at all without the computer. What's happening in the USA? Apparently they've lost somewhere near 20% of their business in this attempt to capture their clients. In other words, the structure they are using is actually doing the reverse. It is losing them vast sums of money whilst being the religion. Further, Harley Davidson. Well, it's not quite the same, but it's pretty close. They have instituted a structure which rooks their customers of as much money as they possibly can. And thus the customers, well, you got this great big Harley which suits our American ideals, and it's not supporting them. The only way it's supporting them is if they have large amounts of money. So many of them are turning to Japanese motorcycles, which in my experience are far more reliable and use less fuel and so on. There are other examples. I have a Garmin system for my boat, Garmin has now instituted a system, again captive via the net, where you try to upgrade your system as you are advised to do, and then the system stops working until you've paid Garmin a large sum to fix it. This equates to an earlier little talk we had where I was talking about the scam that some of the large mail carriers use. Further to that, I sent a recording my father had made in 1944 in Sweden to an American company based in a university to have the recording cleaned up and taken off the records. The records were on steel plates, as was common in the 1940s. I paid the equivalent of £50 to have it sent to America by mail. Yes, I won't go into details, but it arrived, and the work was done. I paid a lot of money for the recordings to be taken down. I wasn't terribly happy with the result, but never mind. Then they wanted £300 for putting the recordings back in the box and sending them back to me. And I said no. And they said, we'll keep the recordings then. And I said, fine, I've got what I need. But it cost £550 to send it to America via ordinary post, and it costs 6 times that amount to send it back. No, our systems are being abused. Our religion is being abused. And what we do about religion, if it doesn't satisfy us, we subtly change it. And this is the danger our structures are facing. I think further, our medical institutions are in grave danger for this, because the wise old nodding heads, which are the leaders in the medical world, are no longer being trusted, because their manipulation of the system, and thence our religion, has become so obvious and so blatant that people no longer trust them. I know very well several doctors, young doctors too, and one said to me at the start of his career, what should he do about the old dinosaurs? And I said, for goodness sakes, don't ever challenge them. Support them in every way you can, because one day they will be gone and you will be in their place. Yeah. It really is tragic, comedic. But if you are caught by this, the only thing it can be is tragic. Just remember the other word, comedic. In fact, it really is just funny. It's amusing to see all these systems being defeated by themselves. So, my advice to you all is do what that young doctor did, and that is kowtow to the system, but underneath, trust only yourself and go your own way. That's what I've been doing all these years. It's cost me dear. And I am living on my own. I managed to subvert most of the structures that are around me and actually interfere with my life. So I've managed pretty well. That's it.